Hi everyone, welcome to another MSI Insider live stream. Today I'm here with the one and only Eric.
Again?
And he's at about 5 meter distance, so he cannot destroy any of the cool samples that we have.
You're really trying to hide me.
Right.
I mean, my space, my aura is getting smaller.
Limited space today.
Yes. That's because of all the big boxes.
No, it's just because it's safer for the rest of us.
Okay. Yeah, I'm feeling a bit cold, so.
Especially then.
Yeah.
So today you can already see it in our background, and especially on our table right here, we're going to talk about liquid cooling. To be more specific, all-in-one liquid cooling. We have two very cool new products here. You can already see the boxes right here. The MPG CORELIQUID K 360, as well as the GeForce RTX 3080 Seahawk. So today we're going to talk, of course, about all the details of these products. And they have one thing in common, and that's that in both situations, the liquid cooling design, so the all-in-one liquid coolers, were made by Asetek. So later on in the stream, we will have two special guests to talk about all the ins and outs of these cooling solutions. And if you have any questions about, for example, the pump, the radiator, etc., everything that has to do with those liquid cooling solutions, just put your questions in chat.
They're like the biggest experts we could find, right?
Exactly. I don't know a lot about this stuff. So.
Yes.
Also today we have a very nice giveaway. So if you go to msi.com/2/insider, you will find a link to our Gleam page. If you're watching on Twitch or YouTube, our bot will also put the direct link to the Gleam giveaway in the chat once every 5 minutes. And today you have the chance to win one of the Watch Dogs Legion game codes.
Also on Twitch and YouTube, our spam bot is spamming each 5 minutes the link, the Gleam link, on which you can click for the giveaway. So
should be good.
Yeah.
So let's first start with the CPU liquid cooler, shall we?
Yeah. Shall we not introduce our guests?
Later on. First we will take a look at what we already have, and then later on we will enter our guests into
your party.
Yeah. So you might already be
there.
No, these are not the coolers we will talk about today. These are already. Oh, yeah. Hey, they're there. Oh, then we might as well introduce them. Hello, hello.
No, those
Sean
aren't.
and Dennis.
No, those aren't. Nope. Those aren't them. Nope. Those aren't them.
We already had you in the scene. Let's just start right away, because we already have the MPG CORELIQUID models. Two models at this point, the 240R and the 360R for 240mm and 360mm radiator respectively. Those are both MPG series CORELIQUIDs. In the second quarter of 2021, we will also have a 280mm model, so with 2 times 140mm fans. But today it's all about the new higher end model, so the MPG CORELIQUID, for even better cooling performance, special features. We will have 2 models at this point, the MPG CORELIQUID K 240 and the MPG CORELIQUID K 360. And both of these models are cooled by Asetek. So today, as we just introduced Sean and Dennis, and what was your job title again? Because it sounds very impressive, I think.
Well, I think it sounds kind of preachery, but
we're technology evangelists.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So you can preach all of this cooling technology to us today.
Preach.
Yep. Yep. Hashtag T.
Hashtag T. Gonna go really deep on the preaching.
It's a code name T in the office.
Yep.
So Dennis, you're located in Europe?
Yeah, I'm at our headquarters in Denmark, not too far from you guys.
But Sean is a little bit further away. You can already see the morning sun in his room.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Cut that a bit for you guys. But yeah, I'm over here in California. It is 7:07 exactly.
Good morning.
Well, thank you for joining.
Bright and early in the morning.
Just a small reminder.
I'm already with my
set up this time that you could join this early. If it was up to me, it would be 2 hours later.
That's okay. We love MSI. We love MSI.
So let's take a closer look at these coolers. we got 3 main points that differentiate these coolers from the rest you can find in the market. First of all, powerful cooling. This is really a high-end all-in-one liquid cooling solution, and this is a cooling solution that you will buy if you're going for that high-end Intel Core i9, that high-end AMD Ryzen 9 CPU, if you're going to overclock it, etc. That's where...
Sorry, some people are saying we have echo. Sean and Dennis, can you please speak again?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I think the echo should be removed right now.
Echo
should be fine.
Okay.
Let us know in chat if it's solved or not.
Yeah.
Another special feature on these coolers is independent control. So for example, we have the K360 right here. That's a model that has 4 fans in total. So 3 on the radiator, but also 1 into the block. We'll talk about that later. But all of them can be controlled independently. And also automatically, the system can define what kind of cooling you need in that specific situation to find the ideal balance between cooling and noise output. And another very cool feature of these liquid coolers is the 2.4-inch LCD display on top. You can, for example, use this for diagnostic information like CPU temperature, CPU frequency. You can put in your own picture if you want. Later on, we'll also have a demonstration where I will show you how to do that. So very cool feature on the water block on top of it.
Okay, Michiel, maybe let Sean and Dennis talk a little bit because I need to fix the echo issue.
That's a very good point. So I will skip then to the pump part because that's where Sean and Dennis know all about. Because this cooler has the very new Asetek 7th Gen pump design. Can you maybe tell us a little bit more about it? We got some cool exploded view pictures. This is not specifically from this liquid cooler, but this is from your 7th Gen pump design that is incorporated in this liquid cooler. Can you maybe tell us a little bit about how it's built up?
Do you want to start out, Sean, or do you want me to just go crazy and talk a bit?
Well, I'm good. Since you work so closely with engineers, I think you have definitely a bit more insight on some of the more technical aspects than I do. But one thing that I will lead off with is some of the key features that differentiate the Asetek Gen 7 from previous generations. There's kind of 3 main features. We have what's called, and the main one's what we're calling out-of-bounds temperature sensing. This allows the cooler to monitor liquid temperature and automatically boost the pump speed to clear any temperature excursions, ensuring that there's smooth operation and you can enjoy immersive gameplay throughout the lifespan of the pump. It's also even quieter than our previous generations, and there's also some performance benefits and system improvements. As far as longevity, we've increased the permeation, the resistance in the tubing, and increased durability and boosted longevity for the overall lifespan of the pump. It's our most technologically advanced generation to date.
Yeah, absolutely. And as many of you may not know, we actually develop all our pumps in-house. So whenever you see an Asetek pump, it's actually been developed from the ground up. Every time, more or less, we start with a clean sheet of paper. While they may look alike, they're actually, typically there's a focus area for each generation. And the 7th Gen is unique in the sense that it actually combines several of our previous focus areas. So it focuses heavily on, naturally, the performance part. So you want to have great temperatures and you want low acoustics at the same time. And that's actually one of the key areas that we've sort of improved on this generation, is that we've managed to merge those two really well. So you'll get a very improved acoustic image from it, but also the low temperatures.
How difficult is it to find the sweet spot between those two, between the noise output and the performance of the pump in a liquid cooler?
Yeah, it's incredibly difficult, really, because the two are typically opposites, right? If you want to run high RPM, you'll get much better performance because you'll get more flow, but you'll also have that increased acoustic footprint.
Exactly.
So it's always striking that balance, and that's also why we actually tune our pumps to every single OEM that we sell to. So, for instance, you guys, you have a uniquely tuned pump that is built for your needs and wants and desires in your products, which is obviously, well, I haven't even played with it yet, but I've heard that it's pretty amazing.
Yeah. Same here. Can't wait.
So these pumps,
Yeah.
they're all designed in Denmark then at your headquarters?
Well, part of it is designed here in Denmark, yeah. A lot of the strategic input comes from the US, and we also have quite a lot of engineers sitting over in China and Taiwan. So we're actually pretty spread out these days. Our main R&D facility is here in Denmark, and then we have a pretty large one in
So how many
in
people
China
are
as well.
working on this, on just the pump, for example?
People just working on the pump. How many people?
That's a good question.
That's a good
So
question.
it's already quite an army. It's
Uh,
not something that, for example, 2 or 3 people are designing.
No, definitely
No,
not. I'd
no.
say it's more like
This
10
is
or
our
20.
core. Yeah, this is our bread and butter.
Because the thing that you can easily sort of miss is that a pump or an AIO is much more than just a pump. It's also the design that goes into the cold plate, so the copper part. How dense are the fins versus the flow? That's actually a pretty important part.
So a lot of different people are also
how
working
is
on different layers of the pump, basically, and the water block in total.
It's very much of a stacked approach. So people will be working on different parts at different times, and some will sort of cross between the different parts of the project as well. So it's really for me, I'm not an engineer, so it's a really interesting process to follow.
I have
as
a
well.
question in the chat from Edwin K on YouTube. Are the parts are parts in the pump replaceable?
Technically,
That sounds
yes.
like a no.
It's a no, because
Yeah.
you'll run into some issues basically with the pump, because first of all, the impeller is extremely difficult to get out simply because it's a very strong magnet that holds it in place, but also refilling it and so on and so forth. We often hear why we don't offer refilling, for instance, and actually a part of that is that you'll never get the liquid mixture right, so you'll end up with some nasty gunking issues.
I
you
always
won't have
call it water cooling,
if you use the standard.
but it's no water.
Yeah. No, well, there's water in there.
Yeah, very little bit, but yeah.
Alcohol?
I mean, there's
Different things.
different things.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's a secret sauce there.
Yeah.
And
There's a lot of water in there, but there's also a lot of other additives.
that mixture, does that also differ per OEM? And OEM is like MSI or some other companies, or is the liquid normally, it doesn't impact the cooling capacity that much?
Well, it can impact performance, definitely.
Yeah, absolutely.
We use
different mixture.
Yeah, we use different mixtures typically not for different customers on our gaming side, simply because we have a very fine-tuned formula that we know work and will give you the performance you're looking for, not just today or tomorrow or in a year, but also in 5 and 6 years. On our data center side, however, most people probably don't know, but we make data center products as well, and liquid cooling for massive data centers, hyperscale. And those are completely different. The cooling capacity in the liquid there is much lower than it is in a gaming product.
Yeah, there's different
indeed.
performance needs.
And if we look at, for example, what's here on the screen, I believe is for a CPU cooler. Later we'll also talk about GPU coolers, like our Seahawk. Water. So I think Peter came up with that name. So is there any different in mixtures, liquid mixture for those, or is that basically the same? It's just like a chip you want to cool down. Okay.
Virtually.
Yeah.
It is the same, yeah. And that's, again, it comes back to, on gaming, we want to really, gaming and PC enthusiasts, we want to hit that sweet spot where you get the most performance you can possibly get. That's not as much a thing in data centers, for instance. You want to, that's more of a, they want to get them cool enough, but from that point they don't care because they don't overclock, for
I see a
instance.
good question in chat. Trip Slime is asking on YouTube, how often do you need to do maintenance?
So that depends
AIO?
on, yeah.
It kind of depends. I mean, ultimately, we like to bill our AIOs as kind of fire and forget, very low maintenance. But Dennis and I think, like to encourage people who are a little, have a little bit more technical chops to do a bit more tinkering if they want to. But like Dennis mentioned, it's not really easy to replace the parts. But we have talked to guys personally, directly on how they can do some maintenance on their AIOs.
Yeah, and one of the key things that I often see that people forget, you could call it maintenance, but it's basically cleaning your radiator.
All the dust.
When you have a guy vaping or whatever in your room and you get all the dust and vape in there, that's really bad for your heat conduction. So if you do that, or you have a cat or whatever, try to clean your radiator every now and then.
I have two
really
cats. I definitely need to do that every now and then. So the main thing basically is, once every now and then, take out your radiator, take the fans off, and properly clean it. But other than that, you can just put it in and forget about it.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, that's one of the beauties of having an AIO system as opposed to a custom loop where you're procuring all the different parts.
And is there any performance degradation after like 10 years or something?
That's a very difficult question to answer, simply because it depends a lot on how you use your product.
Yeah.
If you use it 12 hours a day, there's likely to be some performance degradation after 10 years. If you use it 2 hours a day, no, not much.
Right. How often you have your system overclocked,
a lot of different factors.
Yeah, the temperatures that you run in your system are very important to that end. And I think, Sean, you spoke about it earlier, the embedded heat sensor.
Yep.
That really, the lower temperature you keep your liquid, the longer it'll last. That doesn't necessarily correlate to your CPU temperature, by the way, as most people think. Your CPU can be extremely hot while your liquid is quite cold, and that's actually a nice little trick. So ramp up your fans a bit, and then you'll get much more longevity out of the liquid as well.
Interesting.
Miro is asking on YouTube, how do you best clean your radiator? What's the best method to do so?
I use compressed air.
Yeah,
Michiel, maybe you can show one, a radiator?
Yeah.
Oh, you want... Okay, well, that's also possible. So here, one moment.
This is, for example,
I
the
need
one
to
on the
disable... Yeah, audio is disabled, okay. Detailed cam?
Yeah.
If that
Probably
works.
easier.
Well, Who doesn't like it. So this one is pre-cleaning or post-cleaning?
This is the way it comes out of the box, but below the fence, that's where the dust will gather. So definitely take those fans off if you're going to clean it, because you will not find it on the back side of the radiator. And also, I would always suggest to take your fans off when you clean your radiator. It's better for the fans, and also you get a much better cleaning result.
Yeah, and it's easy to take them off, just 4 screws or like 8.
Yeah, it's easy to take them off.
The compressed air as well. If you haven't cleaned your radiator in a long time, sometimes you'll get some hair and cat hair kind of wrapping around the blades of the fan. You can take some alcohol, take a little alcohol wipe and wipe those down.
But then the cat will get drunk.
And then the cat will get drunk.
I hate
They're annoying.
cats. Jesus. They're such a menace.
I hate when my cat drinks my whiskey.
Yeah.
Let's check chat.
Let me see if we have some more questions. I see an interesting question. Are these new liquid coolers also optimized, for example, the latest Ryzen 5000 series CPUs? Because the hotspot is not exactly in the middle. How does that work with these kind of copper plates, for example, that are used on these liquid coolers?
Yeah, so generally our cold plates are optimized towards LGA 1200. But that's not really the be-all and end-all answer. We've actually run a series of experiments with very, very highly optimized AMD cold plates. And those were practically no better than the Intel optimized. However, the other way around, if you do run an AMD optimized cold plate on an Intel CPU, you'll get a significant performance degradation.
Yep.
So one of the things that is being, played around with a bit, the Bauer being one, is the offset, and even that, it's you can get some results. Definitely, it's mostly in,
can you maybe show the microfins
because
then everybody knows what we're talking about?
I don't think I have a slide right here directly, but later on we will get to that as well, because I believe in the graphics card part we do, Eric. You can slightly see it on this one. You see the bottom plate, the copper plate.
Yeah, so those are the fins
quite small,
which channel the water, I believe, or the liquid.
Right, right.
Yeah.
On the other side of the cold plate.
And they're called micro fins,
Absolutely.
but how micro are they?
Oh, they are tiny.
Pretty micro.
Yeah.
So there you go. There you got a good picture of it there.
Yeah, I can't even remember how much spacing there is, but it's
Because it's just a
Very
couple of
little.
centimeters, but
Yeah.
there's a lot of fins in there.
Yeah. That's a
the
lot
fin
more
density
thin.
the fin density is pretty immense. We're always experimenting, and trying out different techniques for the way that you make these fins is called skiving. Basically, you have a huge machine that just sort of lifts the copper up, and then it goes on and on and on down there. So it slices the copper, so to speak, not in a CNC kind of way, but more in a, like if you want to grate a carrot, I suppose is pretty comparable. And what we did with AMD, for instance, is to experiment with the pattern of the skiving and different flow channels and so on. It was fun to do, but we didn't really get a performance benefit. So in that sense, it kind of sucked.
So in that sense, it's also just better to go with this solution because it's suitable for both, whereas the other one barely makes any difference for the AMD part, but will suffer when using an Intel CPU.
Yep.
Yeah, definitely, and you get the full flexibility of the alternative would be to have two very optimized AIOs, but then what happens when you change your CPU? You're gonna be stuck with an AIO you don't want anymore.
Yeah.
And we don't really want to encourage people just to create more e-waste. Not when we can make a product that is excellent in and of its own.
And this is the bottom plate or the copper plate. This is not something what a customer can change themselves. Like you have two in the packings, and for AMD system, he can better take another one.
No, that's you're going to lose the liquid once you dismount it. First of all, it's also going to require different gaskets, and the entire assembly of the pump and cold plate is optimized towards that one specific unit, and that's why we put so much R&D effort into it. So you really get that unique performance that you wouldn't be able to get in any other way.
Okay, now let's take a look at the fans that are on these specific models. And this is something most of our viewers might already be familiar with, because we're using the fan technology that we've also been using for several generations of graphics cards. We actually introduced our first TORX fan, so TORX FAN 1.0 on the GTX 900 series, so that's already, Eric, 2014? 2015?
This is a long time ago.
It's quite a while ago. TORX 2.0 was introduced with the GTX 1000 series. Then we had TORX 3.0 with the RTX 20 series. So that was 2018, I believe. And last year we introduced TORX 4.0 on our RTX 30 series.
But still not available.
They are, but it's hard to get one.
Yeah, you were talking about introduction day. That's okay.
So the main benefit of this TORX 4.0 fan, especially for radiator usage, is the high static pressure that these fans provide. So because you have the radiator, you have the fins quite close to each other, so you really want to push that air through the radiator. I have a small video here. This is from our graphics card team.
Oh, nice.
And they made an animation. Here you see the different types of TORX fans. And they made an animation of how the air is pushed through when comparing a regular fan and a TORX 4.0 fan. So you see that it's basically a bundle of air. And that's what makes a huge difference, for example, on these regular coolers that also have quite dense fins, but also especially on a radiator like we're using on these all-in-one liquid cooler solutions.
People think our graphics cards are like Bigfoot. It's like a myth. Somebody saw one, but nobody knows it's really there.
Yeah, exactly.
So here's a comparison of, for example, a regular fan design when comparing it to TORX 3.0 and TORX 4.0. And you see that the static pressure is much bigger on the TORX 3.0 and even more on the TORX 4.0 when comparing this. Sean and Dennis, I'm sure you've also done a lot of testing with different types of fans. Can you maybe explain what the benefit of high static pressure is exactly?
Yeah, Sean, do you want to kick that off, or?
I'm going to let you take that one.
Thanks. Well, it's hard because you don't just want a bunch of static pressure, but that is really the key component when you look at a radiator. So typically what we can do for instance, you guys, we've optimized the radiator in a way that it matches your fans. So you'll get that specific amount of fins that correlates with your fans, and you have very high air pressure fans. So we want a lot of fins in there, and those fins make sure that you get the maximum surface area to basically cool your liquid down. And more pressure means that you can force more air through that radiator, or you can force the same amount of air through more fins. And as we just talked about, more fins is more surface area, which means that you can either run your fans at lower RPM and get the same amount of cooling, or you can run them at higher and then get that cooling boost that you may be looking for.
So,
sorry, Michiel, some questions in the chat. No, a lot of questions. Somebody, let me say, that was interesting about still. Oh, yeah. Why not nickel plates? Why copper plates?
It's not copper plated, it's pure copper.
But why not nickel? A nickel base?
You mean nickel plated, I think.
Or
so
nickel
on top
plated.
of the copper.
Yeah, okay. We don't really see a specific point in nickel plating it.
So no benefit.
If you want to do, yeah, of course, if you want to do
okay.
liquid metal, sure, nickel plating would be nice. But I think we've looked at the people who buy AIOs, and the amount of people who delit their CPUs and use liquid metal is by far the minority.
And it's also for many people an aesthetic thing, but this is the plate underneath your water block. So this is not something you will see because it will be on top of your CPU in this situation. If you, for example, do custom liquid cooler, then you have, for example, a full cover block, and then for aesthetic purposes, it makes sense, for example, to have nickel-plated copper. But here you don't really see the copper from the outside.
No, and I think, at least personally, I think there's not many things that can rival a polished copper plate. I think it looks pretty striking, to be honest. And again, like you just said, was it Michiel? You think, on let's say a custom loop block, you'll have that plexi over the liquid and stuff, and you'll actually see the copper. And some people prefer the sort of the looks of nickel plating. There's also some benefits, at least initially, but nickel plating is just that, it's plating, so it can wear over time, which is when it's going to start to, which is when it's going to really start to annoy at least me. I've done my fair share of custom loops as well, so not completely foreign to that dilemma.
Okay, so let's take a look at what we'll find on top of the water block, because we're not only using your pump design, but we've put a few layers on top of it, basically. And one of them is the MOS fan. And the name already says it. The fan will help to cool the MOS on the motherboard. So that's basically your VRM design. Because of this, the VRM temperatures, if you use a cooler like this, will be approximately 30% lower than when not using a VRM fan in the water block. And this very much depends on how much you will benefit it. If you have an extremely high-end motherboard and you don't overclock it, you will never get into the zone where your VRM will get too hot. But if you really want to use that high-end CPU overclock it to the maximum, and do run into those high temperatures, then it will definitely benefit you. Eric, by the way, I lost my signal on the chat, so I cannot see it anymore.
Better?
Not yet, but it might return. Ah, yeah, there it is again.
Yeah, sorry.
This fan is also automatically controlled by the MSI Center software. So if the temperature allows it, the fan will of course not spin at maximum RPM to get minimum noise. But if it does need extra cooling, it will ramp it up for some additional cooling, for example, if you're going to do heavy overclocking. This is actually a TORX 3.0 fan. And that's because here you don't need the very high static pressure that TORX 4.0 provides. That is especially interesting when you want to push that air through the radiator, but this will actually spread out through the MOS heatsink. When you're using an air cooler, you already get some airflow, of course, especially if you have a top-down air cooler on your VRM of your motherboard. But with a liquid cooler, you don't get the additional airflow if you don't have a fan on top of your block.
Yeah, I think this is a very important feature because the CPUs are getting more cores, higher clock frequency, or let's say higher clocks. You still want to overclock them, and water cooling then is much needed in order to cool the temperature of the CPUs. Probably people already saw some. I'm not sure if they're true, but some benchmark of 11 Gen. In a few weeks' time, we're going to talk about that. Temperatures are getting really high and the VRM needs to be cooled. And as the regular viewers of this stream know that not each mainboard is created equally, so you need to cool the VRM as well. And like what Michiel says, with the air cooler, no problem, the fan will go out. This is definitely much needed for the multi-core CPUs. Yeah, and also, for example, what we see on AMD, they've got very long-running platform already. AM4 is already in for 4 CPU generations. And for example, if you have a B450 motherboard, you can actually run the latest Ryzen 9 CPUs on there. But of course, those motherboards were still designed for up to 8 cores, what we had in the second generation of AMD Ryzen CPUs. Whereas nowadays you can go all the way up to 16 cores on the same socket. So of course those CPUs, they draw more power, they will put more strain on your VRM. Of course it will run harder. And if you don't have any additional airflow for that VRM, then temperatures can get really high. So that's where you really want to have one of these fans, for example. Yeah. Dennis?
I think it's pretty cool for... I was just going to chime in and say, especially for AMD, I think that's a pretty neat feature. They run massive boost frequencies, and you really want to get the most out of that auto boost feature, even if you're not manually overclocking.
Yeah, indeed.
That fan, along with liquid cooling, will definitely help keep your VRM under control and the CPU as well. I think that's a really neat feature.
With technologies like indeed Precision Boost Overdrive, for example, on AMD, that will give you extra performance, but also a lot of extra heat output from your CPU, and that of course comes through your VRM.
There's an argument to be made also that you can, users can save a bit of money on a motherboard with the heating solution cooling the VRMs around the socket like that. You might be able to pick up a motherboard that doesn't have the best components or the best capacitors around it, and then be able to compensate with some of that extra cooling around the socket.
Yeah, indeed. For example, if you have a mid-range motherboard and a high-end CPU, if you have that additional cooling, then that can, for example, become a viable combination, whereas otherwise you would already have to go for that higher-end motherboard to get sufficient cooling on your VRM, or to have a strong enough VRM to get those lower temperatures indeed. Now let's take a look at the independent fan control on these core liquid coolers, because this is quite a neat feature. Like in the past with older liquid coolers, you always had that you had the same RPM for all the fans on your radiator, but this one is actually smartly controlled through the MSI Center software, and all the fans are controlled independently. So we have our very new gaming intelligent mode, and if you switch this on, for example, later on I will also demonstrate it, you will see that if the temperature allows it, for example, 2 of the 3 fans on the radiator will actually stop spinning completely. But also the fan in the CPU block will be automatically controlled through this gaming intelligent mode.
So we have a test system here, and later you're going to run some benchmarks and show off everything, right?
Yes, for sure. And it's
maybe I can use the detailed cam.
Yeah, it's quite a decent setup. Let me quickly show you. So this is our very new MPG Z590 gaming carbon Wi-Fi motherboard. It's currently running an Intel Core i9 10900K processor, so that's a 10-core processor. And especially if you're going to put this under higher workloads, like we're going to do later in the stream, I will, for example, run Cinebench on this.
Okay, maybe show the GPU as well?
Yeah, then it will actually pull over 220 watts of power, so that's a lot. That's something you cannot properly cool anymore, even if you have a large air cooler. So the graphics card we're using is, of course, the GeForce RTX 3080
Is your cable too short or what?
Seahawk. It's a little bit hard to see. So there's another fan right there. And it has a 240mm radiator. So that's the system where we will do a lot of demonstration. We will do demonstration for both CPU and the GPU.
But
under high loads.
Before any demonstration, we're going to do a giveaway. Okay?
Good idea. So if you haven't participated yet, go to msi.com/2/insider. If you're watching on YouTube or Twitch, once every 5 minutes, our bot will also put a direct link to our Gleam giveaway in the chat. Within Gleam, you can perform several actions. The more actions you perform, the bigger chance you will have to win. And if you're a returning visitor of our stream, you also have the option to claim your loyalty bonus to give you a slight edge in this giveaway. And our first winner for today is Chefry. I'm sorry if I pronounce your name.
Yeah, that should be okay.
Wrong, but yeah, it should be okay-ish, I think. You've won the first game code for today, which is a game code for Watch Dogs Legion. Congratulations, and keep an eye out on our mailbox because we will email it to you in the coming days. If you haven't participated yet, please sign up. If you have already signed up, no need to do it again. You will be automatically enrolled in the next drawings as well. Now let's take a look at the LCD, because this is, I think it's a very interesting feature. Of course, also a major difference compared to our earlier MAG liquid coolers that just have the RGB on top. But this one has a completely customizable 2.4-inch LCD display. You can do several things with this. Later on in the demonstration part, I will also show you in the software on how you can do those different things. But some stuff you can, for example, do is hardware monitors, so you can see the temperature of your CPU, the frequency of your CPU. You can also get diagnostic information from your GPU on that screen if you want to. But also stuff like, for example, the fan speed on the radiator or the pump speed. You can display all of them on that LCD screen. If you want to go even further with customizing, you can even use your own picture. Later on, I will also demonstrate you. I have a very nice selfie that I made of myself.
No, you have a selfie.
A selfie? Well, yeah, it's a cat fee, basically.
You said it's a very nice selfie.
It's a very nice selfie with pickles on there.
Yes.
I didn't ask her if she was okay with it, but we'll demonstrate you how to put that image on the LCD screen to really make it your own.
You know what maybe a cool idea is? Maybe we will bundle your picture like a free download.
Or just include it in the software package.
Yeah, like
so people
default.
can get my face and my cat on there.
Yeah,
I'm sure they will appreciate it. But also you can, for example...
I think that LCD screen is one of the largest in the industry.
2.4 inch. It sounds small if you compare it to a monitor, but it's actually quite large.
Yeah.
Right, but compared to the competition, I think it's one of the larger ones.
It covers most of the top of the block, so it's definitely quite a big screen.
Can I play Crysis?
Yeah.
Haven't tried it.
Can I play Crysis?
Maybe we should. And you can also do a system clock on it, for example.
Oh, okay. Then with clocks, I'm happy. Clock or Crysis?
Yeah, what do you prefer, clock or Crysis? In Crysis, you cannot see what time it is.
One or the other.
Yeah. Then let's talk about the tubing on those all-in-one liquid coolers, because this is evaporation-proof tubing. Sean and Dennis, can you maybe explain why is this so important on an all-in-one liquid cooler?
Definitely is fighting against any kind of leaking, fighting against any kind of permeation. We kicked up the resistance to permeation with this new generation as well. But yeah, those are some of the main benefits that you're going to get with the tubing that we're using.
Yeah, so the reason we really care about permeation or evaporation, as you guys call it, is that over time, when you run a heated liquid inside your AIO, a small, very, very small, by the way, amount of liquid will permeate through the tubes. And that's one of those things that will decrease the longevity of your system. And it's actually the main source of permeation is the tubes. And that's why we really, really care about just proofing them as much as we can. Nothing is completely bulletproof, of course, but these are really, really good. And that makes sure that you have an AIO that is running for not just 5 years, but maybe 7 or 10 years. And, you know, that's one of those things that just makes for a great product. And it's one of the things that makes sense for us to care about because it'll give you guys and all the viewers a better product.
You know, I did a lot of builds and with a lot of different brands. And to be honest, I didn't try this one yet. But I notice a lot of times I'm like fighting with the tubes to get them in my case. And yeah, I can fight. So can I damage the tubes? Like if I put a knot in it? Well, I'm not doing that. But like can I break them? Can I damage them on the inside?
I think the rule of thumb is anything can be broken.
Yeah, I proved that weekly.
Right,
so.
exactly.
If you try hard enough, then...
You know, the tubes themselves are pretty resistant. I put my share of tubes through hell, I dare say.
Yeah.
They're also flame resistant. Not that you'll probably need it, but...
Yeah, don't
We
hit them
will
with the
test this
flamethrower.
later.
Yep. Feel free to do that. I think that'll make for an excellent live stream as well. But, you know, as long as what you want to take care of is you don't want to bend them 90 degrees, for instance, at the radiator or at the pump, because you'll risk either having the radiator punch through the tube or break the little angle bend that is on the pump. But again, they are very durable, so it's not something that the average user should ever be really worried about.
Yeah, we've gone through over the generations different iterations of tubing, and in R&D we've had to find a sweet balance between flexibility and durability, longevity, resistance.
One of the things that's really changed over the time is that way back when tubes were really made of hard plastics, corrugated hard plastics, and those had a tendency to be more troublesome than the ones that we use today, which are more of a rubberized compound that we've sort of innovated on. So we've come a really long way.
I see a question in the chat. I already saw it several times. Let me see. Yeah, maybe what is the power consumption of the cooler? Does it cost a big number of watts for the cooler from the power unit? So yeah, basically saying what is the power consumption of the cooler?
Oh, let's see. I don't know.
Do you know?
No, it's
around
relatively low. Basically,
what 6 watts, Dennis.
Yeah,
I think it is 6 watts.
What you need to power in this situation are 3 fans. You need to power the pump, of course. There is a fan in the block and a very small LCD.
How do I power the pump?
Yeah.
I mean, go to a socket in the wall, or?
No, it's just a SATA power connector on this one. That one will go to the water block, and all the fans and all the RGB, etc., everything is connected to that water block.
Okay.
So you only need a single SATA connector for this. But I would say it's not a significant power consumption, especially not comparing it to the power consumptions you will find on your CPU or your GPU. It will be a very minor part of your total system power consumption.
Yeah.
So it's not like,
definitely.
for example, if you're going to do a build and you're using a cooler like this, you don't need, for example, an 850 watt power supply instead of a 750.
Yeah, so Mr. Brifo on YouTube, I hope this answers your question.
Yeah, just a couple of watts.
A lot of people saying I can break anything.
You probably can. That's why you're not allowed to touch it.
So can we.
Anything
Yeah,
very good.
especially if it's about Eric, then everything can be broken. So let's talk a little bit about addressable
We're
RGB
good.
lighting on this, because we have got addressable RGB on all the fans on the radiator. So let me see if I can get the camera a bit. It might look a little bit interesting because of the chroma key, which is our green screen. So if our fans turn green, then you get a very interesting effect on the screen. And of course, all these fans can be controlled through the Mystic Light RGB that you can find in the MSI Center software. You can, of course, sync this up with other RGB components. So, for example, your RAM, the RGB on your motherboard, but also all other stuff you want to connect to your RGB headers on your motherboard, the RGB on your graphics card, etc.
Alien Tag on YouTube is asking, will the cooler come in a different color? No, at this moment it's only this model. But like what Michiel already said, later there will be some more models. I don't know exactly about the colors.
Yeah, so the cooler itself is just black and like it's a bit of gunmetal gray kind of finish on the block. Can you maybe turn the detailed cam? Yeah. Fits this motherboard perfectly. Yeah, really well, I think.
Really, really quickly, I just got a word from our production. It's 3 to 4 watts that the MSI in particular cooler.
I told you we had the smartest guy
3 to 4 watts
in the live stream.
I'm really, you know what? I'm disappointed. They're right outside this wall and they didn't come and tell me. Well.
So first they communicate to Sean on the other end of the world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I actually got that from the US side.
Okay. And
yeah, so it's really low power consumption. Yeah, compatibility. I just saw a question about this in chat as well. It depends a bit on which model. For example, the MPG CORELIQUID K240, so the 240 millimeter model with two 120 millimeter fans, will support, for example, the Intel LGA 1200, but also older generations 1150 series, as well as the Intel high-end desktop platform. So, for example, LGA 211, 266, also the older 1366. On AMD, you will also get support, of course, for AM4. Also, the older FM and AM sockets are supported by this cooler. But if you want to use an AMD Ryzen Threadripper CPU, so STRX4 socket, or the SP3 socket from AMD, then you will need to get the K360 model. And that, of course, has to do with those CPUs. For example, the Ryzen Threadripper goes all the way up to 64 cores, so then you do need that extra cooling capacity that a 300 millimeter radiator can provide compared to a 240 millimeter radiator.
Michiel, interesting, very interesting question. TJ Perelta is asking, what is the most efficient position to put the fan in a radiator? Is it on the side or horizontal? So on the top or on the front? Did you do any testing on this? I mean, water doesn't fill up, right?
No, I mean there will be a marginal difference to having at the top of your case in your benefit, but it's not like you're going to gain 5C or even 3. It depends a lot on the amount of preheat that's in your system as well. So if you have, let's say, the Seahawk in there, that's going to exhaust probably a lot of the heat, and then have your CPU liquid cooler exhaust a lot of the heat as well, and then you just have other case fans that basically draw air into the case. Then you won't really notice where they're positioned.
Does it matter for the longevity of the pump, how you position your radiator in your case?
You definitely want to... Actually, I just did a video on this yesterday morning, but it can perform differently, but you don't want to, care too much about it. You don't want to compromise your aesthetics over it, for instance. Just a rule of thumb, don't have it in the bottom of your case. You're going to get all the air up into the pump, and that's going to suck.
Well, that's what pumps do, right?
To be...
Yeah.
Well,
I had made a slight joke to Dennis about, I think you guys have your 360 radiator, your inlet and outlet on the radiator is lower than the pump right there in front of you guys.
This one, the
So just kind of rule of thumb, you can have that, as long as the pump is below the inlet outlet on the radiator.
Fix it.
You're good.
Put it somewhere on my head.
You can
Yeah,
go at
I'll
it.
completely block Eric.
Yeah, it's one of those subjects it's almost been clubbed over the past year or so, and really just don't place your pump at the highest point of the loop and you'll be fine.
Yeah.
As long as a part of the radiator is higher, then you'll
This
do
will
fine.
influence our benchmark.
But that will,
Michiel.
for example, matter if you're going to position your radiator in the front of your case, and you, for example, use the 360mm model. Then you definitely want to have your tubes on top of there instead of the bottom.
You can, both can work.
Yeah. If you put it in the front of your case, you can orient the tubes to be at the top as opposed to the bottom, so they're not below the pump. There's also some other things going on that isn't quite as clear as where you mount the radiator. If for instance, our tubing in particular, the 5mm diameter of our tubing is designed to allow water to freely move up and down the tube. Kind of works the way, think of like a straw. If you have your finger at the end of a straw and you put it on a drop of water, you can kind of pull that, you can pick that water up. So that's one of the things that you're getting with Asetek design tubing is that that 5mm inner diameter is designed to allow water to move freely up and down the tube.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see if I have some more.
Michiel, maybe question. Daniel is asking how many years warranty on the all-in-one cooler?
I believe that differs per region. I'm not 100% sure. I also see a question from Alan on YouTube. Is the pump in the radiator? No. In these water cooling designs, the pump is in the water block. So in the situation of the CORELIQUID, it's on the CPU block, and for the 3080 Seahawk, it's also in the water block that's on top of the GPU.
Yeah, later we're going to talk more
details
about Seahawk, right?
Yeah, we will actually take that one apart. So if you want to see teardown, definitely keep
And you
watching.
didn't ask me to do it?
No, because you will probably completely break the card. So I think it's safer if I do the teardown today.
Come on. You invite me and... Anyway. Disappointed a little bit. First you put the radiator on the wrong position. And now I'm not allowed to...
It's an open test bench. It's not really like I can screw the radiator in something.
Okay.
So it's a little bit difficult. Then let's take a look at the MSRP. I already saw some people asking about the prices. I also put the MPG CORELIQUID series, so our previous series in here, so you can compare. So the 240mm model of the CORELIQUID will be either $209 excluding VAT or €209 including VAT. And the 360mm model, so the CORELIQUID K 360, MSRP is $269 excluding VAT or €269 including VAT. This is just an indication. So in your region, it can be different.
It will be different.
It will be different. Of course, depends on the height of the VAT, but also resellers, they can define their own prices. Now, as you all know,
transport shortage.
Just wanted
VAT,
to mention, the situation in the world is a little bit difficult right now with COVID.
You hear it in the last few weeks.
So yeah, it does raise the prices for hardware, as you have probably already noticed. That's something that goes for basically all hardware right now. Then we also got an overview of the support in our cases. So basically in almost all of our cases, you can use both the 240 and the 360mm version of the MPG CORELIQUID K Series. One exception, on the MPG Vampiric 100 series, you can only fit the 240mm one, so the K240.
Why?
You cannot fit the K360 in there. But for all other models in this list,
Why doesn't it fit in that one?
it doesn't have the space for a 360mm radiator. It's too compact.
reasonable.
Yeah.
No, I thought maybe there are some fans.
No, it's just too small.
Okay.
It doesn't fit. It
Yeah.
doesn't have enough fan positions there. Because for the 360mm radiator, of course, you need those triple 120mm fan position in either the top or the front of the case.
Is there like, I mean, we have a 240 and a 360. The cooling performance difference. Is there like a rule of thumb that you advise people like get a 360 if you want to cool this kind of CPU or overclock or?
It depends a lot on what you do, I suppose. If you like overclocking, get the 360. You're going to want that extra heat dissipation that it offers.
Yeah, surface area.
And, you know, if you like AAA games and just going all out, I think a 360, you'll definitely get less of an acoustic footprint than you would with the 240.
Yeah.
The 240 will handle it, but you may experience a bit more noise from your fans.
Thanks.
So also, even if you, for example, don't overclock, but if you want to have lower noise, then also the 360 is the better option, because basically your fans will just spin a little bit slower for less noise output.
Exactly.
And with your guys' excellent technology where you can turn off the fans, I think that's a really cool feature and something that I personally would really like on my system.
Yeah, Zero Frost technology later on will also demonstrate it, because it will automatically switch off the fans if the temperature allows it. So there's nothing you have to do about that. Just switch on the smart cooling solution and then fire up a benchmark, and you will see that they will start spinning. Once it's done, you will see the fan stop again. Now let's take a closer look at. First the giveaway.
Yeah.
Oh, good idea. Good idea.
You know, I think last week or the week before that, some people in the chat each time reminded me giveaway. So now I'm like trying to prevent that.
Yes.
Or because now you do this, even more people will start asking for a giveaway.
No problem. Oh yeah, I didn't say that.
That's a good-looking card. Look at that card.
It looks good, right?
That is one sexy card.
Mike?
And it's fast. So our next winner for today is Anikesh. Congratulations, you also won a game code for Watch Dogs Legion. If you have already participated, no need to do anything because you will automatically be enrolled in the next drawings as well. If you have participated yet, go to msi.com/2/insider. Or if you're watching on YouTube or Twitch, just follow the link that the bot will put in the chat every 5 minutes. So now let's take a closer look at the GeForce RTX 3080 Seahawk that we have right here.
One moment, a lot of people asking about when, for example, 3060 Ti Aero RTX is coming in Germany or some other countries. For GPU stocks, as you probably might know, it's very difficult to give schedules, especially for specific countries. Yeah. But they are shipping. I mean, they're not high quantities, but they are shipping. They are available. But I know at a lot of retailers, e-tailers, there are long waiting lists.
Yeah, and also the Aero ITX has just come out recently.
Yeah, I found a sample on Peter's desk. So.
Oh, Aero ITX one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm an ITX guy, so I'm not sure if that sample is safe on his desk.
Oh.
ITX for the win.
ITX is cool.
Well, I've got an MSI board lying over here. I think that's even cooler, but that's EATX.
That's the other end of the spectrum.
Yeah.
So the Seahawk card. Also, 3 key benefits from this card. Of course, the cooling on the card itself, powered by Asetek, so really strong cooling. Later on, I will actually do a torture test with this card using Furmark, so really putting full load on the GPU. And this is a 3080, so this is a really high-end card. And we're going to show you the temperatures when running Furmark. And I was quite amazed by how insanely low the temperatures were. So more about that later. Also reinforcement, so it has a very strong backplate, of course, a very strong tubing. It has a customized PCB with 2-ounce thickened copper, Zero Frost technology, all of that good stuff. And of course the experience you get through software with, for example, Dragon Center and Afterburner if you want to do additional overclocking, if you want to put in custom fan curves, stuff like that. So a lot of the control is in your hands. This cooler is slightly different in design than the CORELIQUID that we just talked about, because this one is based on the Asetek 6th gen pump design. Can you maybe tell us a little bit about this design and also how it is specifically suitable for GPU usage, whereas the CORELIQUID, of course, was specifically designed to be used on a CPU?
Yeah, so I guess one of the things is that it's slightly more compact. It doesn't require as much height on your installation, so it's quite easy to fit in there, and you have that nice noise dampening foam that you can actually see on the picture here at the second layer of it, and that allows you to get most of the acoustics from the pump eliminated before you can ever even hear it audibly. Other than that, obviously there's that big, nice cold plate that's been customized especially for you guys, which covers not just the die itself, but also all of the VRAM. So
Yes.
I think that's a really neat feature there.
And it's also a big difference when comparing this to our previous generation's Seahawk cards, because usually the all-in-one liquid cooler was just to cool the GPU on that card. Of course, many people that are into custom water cooling are familiar with full cover water blocks, where they will also get that VRAM cooling. But with this model, we also incorporated, together with Asetek, of course, that VRAM cooling through the all-in-one liquid cooler.
Yeah, especially important on the new memory NVIDIA is using.
Yeah, it's extremely fast, but it can also get pretty
Extremely hot.
Yeah. So it really helps.
I see a question in the chat. Is this faster than Supreme? No. No, actually the question is it better than Supreme? So it's not faster, but it's way cooler and way more silent.
Yeah, of course, it depends on what kind of mode you're using it. But
if you
later
really
on,
talk
I can
about
fire
overclocking and this kind of stuff.
Yeah, later on I can, for example, fire up Counter-Strike, and even if you play it at like 350 FPS, it still takes quite a while before the fans even start spinning on the radiator. So for most of the time it's just running passive. Yeah, the temperatures are really low on this one.
Yeah, and the 6th gen is obviously a very long, it's a long-standing design now, and we know that the durability of it is just amazing, and we've used it for GPUs in quite some time actually, and we get really positive feedback for it, so that was just the obvious choice, I think.
I see Mr. Brifo is asking, does it come with thermal pads? Why not thermal paste? The thermal pads you're seeing on this image, they're for the memory chips. For the GPU itself, it will be thermal paste.
Yes.
You'll see the same thing, for example, on our air-cooled graphics cards. Also, the memory modules, the memory chips on the card have pads on there, and the GPU is always has paste on there.
Emma Chaser is asking if we're going to put this one on eBay, like through Starlit. Yes, for sure. We're going to scalp this one.
Yep. For $4,000 US, it's yours.
Well, seems reasonable. How much power consumption for this card, Mike?
I believe it's 320 watts when you put it under full load.
Reasonable, cheap. Well, yeah.
Exactly.
Here you can see a closer look of the microfin copper base on that you can find on this graphics card. So here you also see that there are actually 4 thermal pads making contact with that VRAM, and of course in the middle the copper plate also touches the GPU. So it's really it's not only an all-in-one liquid solution in the liquid cooling solution in the sense that it has the pump and the radiator, etc. In once, but also that it cools not only the GPU but also the VRAM.
Yeah, and that microfin design is obviously optimized to NVIDIA, so it works specifically well with that type of solution that you guys are making for the Seahawk, and just secures that ideal performance that you're really looking for in your GPU.
So we were talking earlier about that your CPU baseplate is more optimized for
the perks of live streams.
Now it's live. Now probably it will pick up again. Click here to Streamer discontinued. Attempt to reconnect. So that's fixed. Few seconds ago.
I think we had a brief drop of connection or something.
Yeah, something. Let me check.
Oh, I see in YouTube
Fix,
chat
back, reconnect. We're back.
The dog bit the Ethernet
Well,
cable.
I'm going to check what the cause was. Michiel, maybe you continue.
Yeah. Let's take a look at the radiator because, of course, you have two tubes. One to get the cool liquid in and one to get the hot liquid out. So you also have two separate channels within the radiator. Can you maybe explain how this works internally?
Yeah, so you can actually see it on your picture there. You have a set of channels flowing from one end.
So they're like
one
small
tank
tubes through
to the other end of the radiator. Yeah, so when you see your radiator, you actually don't have liquid inside the fins. The fins themselves are you could say it's an extension of the micro channels that run within the radiator that actually send your liquid back and forth. And then those fins are a method of increasing the surface area to allow us to cool, have more area to cool. And yeah, you for obvious reasons, you need to have hot liquid coming in one spot and the cold one coming out in another spot, so you don't want to just mix it all together. Then you'll just get a bland
so
mixture.
basically the liquid is making a U-turn through the radiator.
Absolutely, yeah.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and the end. We often get asked about the end caps on both ends of the radiator, and those are actually, if you ever dabbled a bit with custom liquid cooling, you'll know a reservoir, for instance, and that's actually what those tanks are. They are AIO reservoirs, so they hold that extra bit of liquid that makes sure that your AIO can run for years and years and years.
So you basically have a little bit of spare liquid in there just to make sure, to basically guarantee the longevity of the cooler. Cool.
Absolutely. And you also give, by having those tanks, you have a place for small air bubbles to collect as well. No AIO is filled 100%. And that's simply because if you want to ship it around the world or you have a varying climate with temperatures, you want to make sure that the liquid can expand and contract as well. And that's why there's always just a tiny bit of air in your system. And you can actually hear it when you get a new AIO. If you sort of shake the radiator at your ear, you can hear just that small amount of air.
Also, when you boot it up, for example, you sometimes hear it bubble a little bit.
So Mike, you want to tell them what you
Yeah.
did with the previous one after you emptied it and you built it in the system?
Oh yeah, for our first generation liquid coolers, we actually took one apart. We took out all the liquid, and then it ended up somewhere in our department. And for a couple of months, probably, I hadn't seen it before, and then I needed to build a new system. So I was looking for a cooler. And yeah, you can imagine what happened. There's an all-in-one liquid cooler right there. Let's use this one. And I fired it on, and it was extremely loud, and it was making really weird noises. So then I checked the temperature. That's not too impressive. So yeah, I was using the empty all-in-one. Well, it was not a liquid cooler anymore.
Yeah, it was an air cooler.
Yeah.
It was an all-in-one cooler. Well, cooler.
All-in-one air.
It was pretty hot.
Air coolers have radiators
All in
now.
one air warmer.
Yeah, so
exactly. All in
Space
one air
heater.
warmer.
we actually ended up refilling it just with tap water. So it's not a perfect solution, and you can see that the cooling performance is not as good anymore as it used to be. But just for very basic purposes, like for example, shooting a video where the system is just an idle, for that it's perfectly fine. But it's not really a 100% optimal cooling solution anymore.
And as a disclaimer, let's just mention that I did not empty it.
No.
Clear.
It was Peter from our FAE department who emptied it, and then it ended up in our department somehow, and I was reusing it.
Happens.
Yeah, it happens.
So we had a drop, but on all platforms we're live again. You just continue to stream.
Yeah. So let's take a look at the backplate on this
Yep,
this
I see
graphics
live
card.
Twitch.
So Eric, can you maybe pull up the close-up cam?
Sure.
So there we go. There is a full brushed metal backplate on the back of the graphics card, and it will not only strengthen the graphics card, but it also helps with cooling. Let me see if you can see it from the top. But there are actually thermal pads in between the backplate. Later on we'll also take it apart. I will see if I can also take the backplate off. But you can, for example, see that there are thermal pads in between the metal backplate and, for example, the memory chips on the graphics card. So it's not only for aesthetic purposes, it really helps to cool the card as well. Here you can see an example of the thermal pads that you will find on the graphics card. So these ones are not only at the front but also at the back. So in between the backplate and the chips, but also in the front in between the heatsink and the chips. Eric, can you maybe pull up the...
Yeah, sure, was typing.
Ah. There we go. I see a question in chat. Burbana is asking, Asetek Sean, mad respect, where will you be doing this? Let me see. I'm not sure about the topic here, but...
I mentioned, if all things come together, I worked out with you guys, with the marketing team, that we're going to be doing a giveaway. We're going to be giving away 5 Seahawks if it all works out. It's going to be an international giveaway, so just mentioning that in chat.
So people are fired up in chat.
Gonna watch those numbers explode now. There's a giveaway of a GPU.
So that's where the complete stock of RTX 38
I'm sure availability will play. Yeah, I'm sure availability will play heavily into that, guys. So
don't make any promises
follow
about
us
GPUs.
on social media for details.
Pierre Horn is asking YouTube chat, how hot does it get with the all-in-one on the GPU? Later on, I will fire up Furmark to really stress test the GPU, and then you will see what temperature it will reach. Jen Sykes asking on Twitch,
are the wires separated or inside the pipes?
Yeah. The wires.
Oh,
What do you mean with the wires, Jen Sykes?
Tubing, maybe?
Yeah, could be indeed.
Or maybe the for the fans.
Yeah, let's just wait until he or she clarifies, and then we can provide a better answer, I think. Then let's continue with zero throttle technology, because also the Seahawk, of course, supports this technology. Not only for the fans on the radiator, but also the fan that you will find in the shroud. On the radiator, there are TORX 4.0 fans as well, like you will find on the MPG CORELIQUID, and there is a TORX 3.0 fan in the shroud that will, for example, also help to cool the power delivery circuit on this graphics card. So they will automatically stop spinning. Right now, for example, the system is running, but as you can see, the fans on the radiator are not spinning right now. Later on, when we will stress test it, of course, you will see it start spinning.
Wires is indeed about power and fan. The question here, this.
Oh, fan wire with the underneath the shroud. Is that what they're asking?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, that's. Let me quickly show you. Eric, can you maybe pull up the close-up cam?
Yes.
So you have the tubing right here. So you got the tube for the hot and for the cold liquid, so in and out. And then there is another wire that actually connects the two fans on the radiator, and that one is indeed already integrated into the graphics card. So you don't have to connect that to your power supply or motherboard. You can see it right here. It's going into the shroud of the GPU, and that one will also power the fans. This graphics card also comes with a 2-ounce thickened copper PCB. This is something that you might already know, for example, from our 500 series motherboard. So it means there's a lot of copper inside the PCB of this graphics card, and that will also help for additional heat dissipation. So comparing to a regular PCB, you will get better heat dissipation with the same cooling solution, just by using a different material on the PCB. That's also something you can, for example, find on this motherboard, because we're using the MPG Z590 gaming carbon Wi-Fi, and this is now also incorporated into this graphics card.
David James is asking, where are all the MSI gaming chairs? Well, if you watched, I think last week, you know, Jack cut them all apart. He cut them all up. Mike, you need to go a little bit to the whatever, yeah, that side.
That side. I'll show you my chair. I've got an MSI chair. And this one wasn't cut open.
No, that one not.
Yeah, Sean Dennis, last week we had a live stream about gaming chairs, and our colleague Ja was showing the internals of the gaming chair. So he took a knife and he cut one apart.
We no GPUs inside.
Yeah,
That's
only
ready
RTX
to vote.
in those chairs.
That's a teardown.
And a lot of people were like, no, don't do it.
Gaming chair teardown.
Well, today we will have a Seahawk teardown.
For sure.
There you go. There you go.
So let me see if we have any more questions for Sean and Dennis in the chat. Now it's your last chance, because later on we will continue with the demonstration. So if you still have any questions for Sean and Dennis from Asetek, make sure to put them in chat right now. They know a lot, so you can ask them a lot as well.
Always happy to answer.
Yep.
Also crazy questions, we take those as well.
Yep, we do indeed. And we're also very active on our Discord. If you guys want to try, and if you want to follow us on Discord, join the discussion there. It's a great group of guys. The community's great there. Dennis and I are often in the chat there as well.
I see a question from Tech on YouTube. All-in-one cooling for GPU. Can you give us a verification that it will last for years? Because liquid, especially if the weather is hot, evaporates.
Yeah, and that's where the new tubes really come into play, right?
Yep.
So as we spoke about earlier, there's some new tubes that are even more permeation proof than they were in the past. And like we also spoke about earlier, you want to make sure that you strike that balance between getting a low acoustic footprint, but also making sure that your liquid isn't, boiling inside your loop. Because the warmer your liquid is, the more evaporation or permeation you will get. So if you're concerned about the longevity of the liquid, first of all, there's really no reason to. But second of all, if you do end up being concerned anyway, run the fans at a bit higher RPM. I'm not saying you should go full blast all the time, but have them running at 75%.
Tech also mentions specifically when the weather is hot. Do you also test this, for example, in different circumstances, in, for example, hot situations and colder situations?
We do pretty extensive testing, I dare say. I would show you, but my laptop is hooked up right now. But we use climate chambers to test. We test at, I think the maximum temperature is 90 degrees Celsius.
So it has to be really hot in your country if
year.
You're going to exceed that.
Yeah, we really do a lot of lifetime testing, and we really make sure that our products are up to snuff. So really.
So even for our viewers in a warmer climate, they shouldn't worry at all about this being an issue.
No. Naturally, they'll have hotter temperatures because the ambient is higher, and as such, the delta will also, go up. But it's not really a problem at all. And the coolers are built to perform in both cold and warm climates.
Yep.
As long as you're not in negative 40 C or so, you'll be fine.
Right. Liquid temp in the system is typically kept around 60 C, if I'm not mistaken. Is that right, Dennis?
Sorry?
Liquid temp in the system, in the AIO system, liquid temperature shouldn't really go above 60.
No, I mean 60 C is where we start to see some issues if you run continuously.
Exactly.
But if you can bring your liquid temperature to 60 degrees, I dare say you're pretty skilled.
Right.
You're definitely doing something wrong if it reaches 60 C. So
yeah, we do extensive testing, especially around permeation and leak testing. We actually have a pretty cool testing system for doing leak testing. We have what's called helium integrity testing.
Yeah.
Which is really cool. It actually, we fill the system with helium. And since helium is a smaller molecule than water, if helium can't escape the system, then water will have an extremely hard time escaping the system.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's actually done on all our
interesting.
AIOs when they
Yep.
leave the facility. You get that helium integrity testing, which is really as good as it gets because it tests not only the tubes or the pump, but the entire AIO system.
Exactly.
And that really gives you that ease of mind that this system
It's basically like those torture stress tests. If it can survive those, then it will definitely survive all your gaming needs. And here, if it survives the helium test, then it will definitely survive the regular liquid that's in there.
Yeah. Yep.
Absolutely.
Let me see if I have any more questions specifically for Asetek. Tech has a follow-up question. In theory, that will last for a lot of years without facing any issues with missing liquid, he's asking.
Yeah, absolutely. You'll last years and years and years without any missing liquid. You know, the people who usually experience issues from not having enough liquid in their system have placed their radiators at the bottom of the case, or they are running a 120 millimeter AIO at the back and then having the
Or they're running an empty AIO.
and then you can
Just happen to know somebody.
Yep. If you know someone who's done that,
who on
it's
earth
going to
would
be
do
an
that?
issue as well.
I think those were all the questions we have right now. So Sean and Dennis, thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah, really, thanks.
I think you gave a lot of insights in
Our
all-in-one liquid
pleasure.
coolers.
So yeah, a lot of people really, this was like, I'm missing school, but I learned a lot.
Well, you guys are always welcome to, poke Sean or I, and we'll be happy to answer, whether it's on social media or wherever.
Perfect.
We're always happy to help.
Thank you so much.
Yep.
So
Thanks for
we'll
your
be
time.
continuing with the demonstrations and see how well they really perform in practice. Sean, Dennis, thank you so much, and we'll talk to you later.
Thank you.
Thanks, community.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, MSI.
Thank
you guys
you.
have a great one.
Bye-bye.
day.
So let's get this baby fired up, because now we've seen all the theory. I think it's time to get it in practice. But maybe we can do another winner before we start.
Sure.
So if you haven't participated yet, go to msi.com/2/insider. There you will find a link to our Gleam giveaway. Within Gleam you can perform certain actions. The more actions you perform, the bigger chance you will have to win. And if you have already visited our stream before and participated in our giveaway, then you can also claim an additional loyalty bonus to give you a slight edge in the
Next
giveaway.
winner is on the screen.
It doesn't guarantee that you will automatically win, but it
Nope.
will give you a tiny bit of an edge. And our next winner for today is, difficult name, Chems Edin. Congratulations, you also won a game code for Watch Dogs Legion. Please keep an eye out on your mailbox because we'll email you the game code with some instructions on how to activate the game in the coming days. So let me move this aside and continue with some torture tests and some benchmarks and time to see what real temperatures
Smoke,
this thing
fire, and today, water.
Well, let's hope the water all stays in the
Okay,
system.
yeah, they told us that should not be a problem. So only smoke and fire.
Yeah, indeed. So, where shall we start? LCD screen?
Yeah.
So the cool thing about this, maybe we can show it up close. If you see the water block, this is actually a detachable cap, and this is attached with magnets, so you can easily take it off. You see on the inside, you see the magnetic points in the corners, and here you will have the LCD with the 4 magnetic points as well. So you can easily take it off and put it back on. I'm quickly going to peel the protective layer.
Ooh, highlight
Off.
of today.
Yeah, the highlight of today. Some people really like this. Peeling off protective layers.
Nah,
There we go.
I feel better.
So right now you can, for example, see the CPU temperature on there. 22 degrees.
So what CPU are you running?
I'm running the 10900K Intel Core i9.
Okay. So we have. Let me go back here.
We're using that one on purpose because it's a high-end CPU. It's quite power hungry. Oh, we still have a little bit of Sean and Dennis here.
Yeah, I will remove that.
So I will.
Shall I make this full screen like this?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
So this is our new MSI Center software that you will need in order to control the CORELIQUID LCD screen, but also the cooling on there. So here you have two tabs. First one is the LCD screen. There you have several options. This is what you want to show, of course, on the LCD screen. On hardware monitor, you can pick several options, for example, CPU frequency, and then it will just go cycle through the different options you choose.
So is that instantly? You like check the box and it appears?
And then like I can choose up to 3 and it will cycle through them.
Oh, okay.
So for example, I have the frequency and the temperature right now. So let me show it from the top.
One moment.
Then it will will cycle.
Yeah, clear.
In between. And I can, for example, if I add the pump speed, it will instantly add it in there as well. So you can choose up to 3 different ones here. You can, of course, also, if you just want to have one. So, for example, right now, it will only do the CPU temperature. So you can all decide it by yourself what you prefer. Another cool feature, what I really like, is the image feature.
This is bundled. There were rumors like.
Sorry, the bundle one.
The cat picture.
Yeah, the cat picture we will put in there later. There are already some stock animations in here. So, for example, now you see a cool effect on.
I'm feeling like a DJ. I need to switch.
You need to switch all the time.
Yeah.
And you got different presets in here.
Looks like a screensaver.
Yeah, kind of.
To avoid burn-in.
You can, for example, put the MSI logo or our dragon logo. So different kinds of cool effects. But of course, I want to have a picture of me and my cat in there. So I prepared a nice image.
One.
And you see, that's me.
Can we do this full screen?
With my cat Pickles.
Maybe screenshot, everybody. So that's Pickle. That's Pickles.
And her sister is called Peaches. That's my other cat.
And what happened to them a few weeks ago?
Oh, yeah. Well, they cannot get any babies anymore.
Okay, yeah. And they were like sleepy and...
Yeah. So they had some surgery, but they recovered well. And now let's see if we can get, well, she looked scared here, and I think she was because of that.
Because of the guy on the left.
Yeah, probably.
What is he doing? Don't eat me.
But now, of course, we want to have my cat on the block.
Oh, cool.
It is important that you do use an image in the right format and the right resolution. So this is a 240 by 320 pixel image size. And it is a BMP file.
Bitmap, yeah.
A bitmap file, indeed. So make sure that it meets those requirements, otherwise you cannot display it on the block. And right there, you should be able to see.
Oh, I have to warn the viewers.
Oh.
This can be graphic content ahead.
Yeah.
Okay, there
if you're under 18, close your eyes.
Yeah. Cool. Our green screen is acting up a little bit. Yeah.
Can you maybe switch off the lights? I think it's.
Oh yeah.
Because I got a lot of reflection.
Yes. I always need to watch it. I'm not like connected to all the headsets, microphones.
Carlos is asking, is the screen OLED or LCD? This is an LCD screen.
Is this good?
Yeah, it's already better.
Cool.
Our chroma key is having a little bit of issues with it, you see, because of the reflection.
Maybe. Yeah, okay, lights on.
Yeah, lights back on. So as you can see right
We
now,
really need to get a remote for this.
in this orientation, I actually put it upside down. So when I currently use the camera on the front, it's in the right direction. But if you want to position it differently in your case, you can actually switch the direction here. So you get 4 different orientations. So also if you want to put it sideways, for example, with your tubes up or down, you can just switch this in the software to be sure that your image is always in the right orientation.
Mike,
Yeah,
can you empty the trash bin?
empty the trash bin. No, I want to trigger
Come on,
OCD.
no.
I will keep it full.
I have to cover it with something.
We got another feature here. It's a customized banner feature. Here you can also use your own image or can use a preset, for example. So I will just use this one. And here you can type your own text. So
Hello.
Do you have good text for me, Eric?
Crash. Oh no, 100 degrees.
There we go. And then let me grab the camera.
Okay. The detailed view. Ooh! It's not looking positive. Hey, those guys just told us it could not go above 60, but it was for the GPU. Yeah. We fixed it.
Well, with the custom text, you can definitely do that.
Yeah.
And then there is also a system clock feature with some different designs. And that will just display the time on your system. So,
Bedtime.
yeah, right now.
Now
it's,
everybody knows what the time is here.
Yeah, here in Europe, it's in Central
Like
Europe.
5:36.
Exactly. So that's the LCD screen on the CPU block, but of course in the software you can also customize certain cooling features. For that you go to...
People are complaining, they don't want the image in the box. Or they want rebates.
They don't like my cat?
I think it's not about your cat.
What a surprise.
Yeah.
So yeah, here you can customize the cooling. You got several options here as well. Right now it's on balance, it's a default. You can also put it on silent. Then you will of course get a slightly different fan curve, as you can see on the bottom.
So I see the like 3 fans.
Yes, you have the, well, these are 3, this graph is for the
What
3
is this?
fans on the radiator.
What is this? I don't see you.
Can you see my cursor? Oh wait, let me see if I can switch that on so you can see what I'm doing. Right now?
Yes.
Yeah, that's better. So this part is for all 3 radiator fans, but you can control them separately from each other. So here on top you have 3 fans. You can select them independently and set different fan curves for each fan if you want to.
Mm-hmm.
This is the pump fan.
Can you also,
Well,
can you also link them together?
Yes, you can. Right now they're linked. In the customized feature you can do more things by yourself.
Yeah.
You see here you got, this is when you want to put in your own fan curves. You can connect them to each other, or you can just select separate fans easily. This is of course the pump speed, and this is the water block fan, and that means that's the VRM and the MOS fan that's underneath the LCD screen in the water block. So you got 3 presets already. You got balance, which is of course a balance between noise output and heat dissipation. They got silent mode that prioritizes a lower noise output, and then you got gaming mode that prioritizes better cooling. In the customized mode, you can manually set your own fan curves. So you can, for example, move these up and down. You can connect and disconnect these from each other. So here you can make your own fan settings. But the one I want to show you is our new gaming intelligent mode, so the GI mode. This will automatically control your fans based on the temperature, and it will also, for example, stop the fans if they're if they don't need to spin. Maybe you can already see it right now. They're spinning.
Maybe I need to go to this. Yeah.
Yeah. But probably in a short while you will see 1 or 2 fans they stop spinning because the CPU temperature is low enough. So this will automatically control it based on the exact situation. So I will just stick to the GI mode for now.
Question: what is the lifespan on the water block fan?
The lifespan on the water block fan.
Yeah.
I believe it's by spec 100,000 hours from the top of my head. but I'm not 100% certain.
That's like many years.
Yeah, do the math. If you use it 4 hours a day, then I think it's yeah, it's a long time. Many years.
Yeah.
So
Will this replace Dragon Center? Good question. Yes, and this is MSI Center, and it's a beta version we're using right now. So probably it will crash.
Yeah, that's always the things with beta versions, right?
And with live streams.
And with live streams.
Yeah.
Can you maybe switch to the main cam? Because now I'm using the gaming intelligent mode, and you can, for example, see that on the radiator, 2 of the 3 fan stays stopped spinning. That's because currently we're in idle, we're not running a game, we're not running anything CPU intensive. So it doesn't need 3 fans in order to properly cool the CPU at this point. So the fans will stop spinning. If I will fire up Cinebench, for example, so let's do that right away.
Yeah, I keep in the main view. I stay in the main view.
Yeah,
what's the why in LCD and not an OLED in the cooler?
OLED is a little bit sensitive to burn-in. That's just to be sure, especially if you use, for example, if you always use the clock feature, you don't want to have it burned in on your OLED screen.
Yeah.
So yeah, at this point, of course, we did testing with both, but LCD gives us the better results at this point. That doesn't mean in the future OLED will not be a viable option as well.
OLED is better, but yeah.
It depends on, yeah, in burn-in, OLED is still a little bit sensitive, yes. But in contrast, OLED is of course amazing.
Please make a white liquid cooler. Yeah, I mean...
Now I'm running Cinebench, by the way. You see all fans just started spinning as well.
Yeah, about white products. We are thinking about it, not working on it. That would be too much, but yeah, we are
considering it for sure.
Yeah, considering it. We are looking into it, what we can do. And so don't expect this next week.
I also see the question, will there be a dark mode? I guess that's about...
fan off.
MSI Center, I think.
Oh.
Can you switch back?
Yeah, I almost put I almost pushed the button end stream like you did.
Yeah, I did that one.
Capture system, yes.
As you can see, there is also a dark mode.
Cool.
So yes.
Clear.
So yeah, let's run some more Cinebench. I will just put this on a 3-minute loop, so that once it's done, it will automatically repeat itself.
Can you maybe run Huawei info or something?
Yeah, I also have it open right here. I will first start this one, and then open Huawei info. Can you make it bigger?
Can I? There's here a big button. Zoom.
Here we go. So here you can see right now in the bottom graph, you see the current CPU package power. So that's the power consumption of the complete CPU. And when running Cinebench, 10900K pulls around 220 watts of power. While doing so, it can still maintain a steady clock speed at 4.9 gigahertz, and it's still at a very decent temperature. Right now it's 64 degrees Celsius, and we're currently, the ambient temperature is 22 degrees, I think.
Yeah.
Just to put this in comparison, this is with an all-in-one liquid cooler. Before the live stream, I actually tested this with an air cooler as well. I used the MSI CoreFrozr S, so that's a tower air cooler with a 120mm fan, and it's a very decent cooler. But for example, in this example, we're pulling 220 watts on our CPU. You cannot properly cool this anymore with an air cooler. So I took a screenshot of similar situation.
I probably need to switch off this zoom.
No, I think you can use the zoom as well. Let me see if I can. I don't know, is it properly visible? There we go.
Yeah.
I think here you can see
perfect.
it. So this is with a 120mm tower cooler. As you can see, it's still pretty decent maintaining its clock speed. So it didn't really throttle, slight dip in clock speed. So performance-wise, this was actually still quite okay. But it reached 99 degrees Celsius. Whereas with this all-in-one liquid cooler, it's 64 degrees, we just saw. So that's a it's even more. It's a 35 degree difference in the same situation, basically.
Yeah.
And this is even open test benching. So if you're going to use a 120 millimeter air tower cooler inside a case, it will run even harder. So then you do get the risk of throttling, and then you will effectively lose performance.
And just let me notice that you put the radiator in the wrong location.
Yeah, because I cannot.
So it can be even better.
It's not specific. It's mostly for longevity of your cooler that you want that.
Bad preparation.
So yeah, you can cool this with a 120 millimeter air cooler, but when cooling 220 watts, you really get temperatures that I would not be comfortable with anymore. So this is still running Cinebench. It's almost done with the last run. Then you can also see the score.
Yeah, so talking about developing a complete white product lineup, this is not easy because, of course, you want that all the white is exactly the same white, because there are a lot of different shades of white, not shades of gray, but shades of white. And if you have, for example, plastic white or metal white, or you have some white cables, all will reflect different in light. So also over time, you don't want that white becomes yellow or something. So you want that it will stay white. So it's not easy to do. Well, it's not easy to do something like that how we would like to have it. And that means perfectly white and everything matches each other. So that's also why something like this is not something we will introduce in a few weeks' time.
Carlos was asking what voltage I was using, so he might have noticed it, but I pulled up the voltages in hardware info.
I think we need self-destruct software when using graphic cards for mining. Yeah. And with current pricing, this issue is not going away very easily. Current pricing of Bitcoin and ETH.
So yeah, this is, you see the small dips in here, that's in between the different Cinebench runs, because right now it's looping runs for 3 minutes, and after 3 minutes it will finish the last run and then it will stop. So this is an extended, very high workload, but still cooling remains around 65 degrees Celsius approximately. And that's extremely cool when pulling 220 watts on your CPU.
Mike, about Z590 boards, do you know the MP schedules?
On the, sorry?
The Z590 boards, do you know the MP schedules when, for example, more stocks are going to North America?
Oh, not sure. No, not sure. It's a really complicated situation right now.
But it's in production, it's shipping, and there is actually stock compared to VJ, which is really like low volume.
Yeah, but I don't know for individual regions when to expect it exactly. The best way to get more information is to check with your local reseller. They should be able to provide you with a better indication of when they expect new stock. Yeah. Because this can differ for weeks and sometimes even months in between regions. Depends on what type of shipment it is.
Z590 should not be, depending on the model, it should not be that bad.
No, it should indeed be okay.
Yeah.
So we did some testing on the CPU. Let's maybe do a little bit of testing on the GPU. So I will stop this one. So as you can see, around 15,500 points approximately Cinebench score, because it's consistently at that 4.9 gigahertz. So for the graphics card, I'm going to run some Furmark to really put full load on the GPU. And let me pick this up. So you can see right now the fans are still not spinning.
They told us something about fire. We need to try fire. will the fan spin?
So now it's running Furmark, so we're fully loading the GPU.
That's 42 degrees.
42 degrees. Of course, this will slightly get higher, but right now still passive. seen Twitch chat, someone calls it a furry Cheerio. I always call it a fluffy donut.
Why did we include fans if they're not spinning?
Because at a certain point you don't want them to
they
spin.
will spin.
It will spin at a certain point.
Yeah.
Look, there you go.
Yeah, but low RPM.
Yeah, this is still very low RPM, so it's still virtually silent. And this is an extremely high GPU load. This is really
it's like a torture test.
Yeah, Furmark is really, it's a burn-in test, so it's
not
really
realistic at all.
Now, if it survives these kind of loads, then it will also easily survive your gaming load.
Yeah.
And as you can see, it's still extremely cold. It's 48 degrees right now. Dr. Dark Gaming is asking on YouTube chat, what is the biggest difference between older cooler and newer? Do you mean on the GPU side or the CPU side? So the MPG
well, I think both you can answer.
Like when you compare the MPG CORELIQUID and the MAG CORELIQUID, it's not specifically that the other one will disappear, that this will be the new version and the other one will go away. This is more of a higher end model.
MPG.
Yeah, MPG. So we have our Arsenal series, which is more of the entry-level gaming side of things, and this is our performance gaming segment. So what you can expect is not only better cooling performance, but also more features, like for example that independent fan control, like for example the 2.4-inch LCD display on top, like for example the fan in the block that will help to cool the VRM on the motherboard. So those are the differences that you will find in between those models. Also, the MAG series come with regular addressable RGB fans. The MPG CORELIQUID K Series come with the TORX 4.0 fans. So those kind of differences you will find in between them. And it depends a bit on your kind of usage, what you need. If you're running a Core i5 or a Ryzen 5 on stock speeds, the 240mm MAG model will provide you with plenty of cooling already. If you want to go for a top-end CPU and even overclock it, then of course the MPG 360mm model.
Can we show that this what you're holding up is connected, because it runs like very slow compared to what it should be?
Sorry, which one?
Yeah, the Furmark. I mean, normally it's like this 47 degrees, nothing.
Yeah, it's extremely chill.
So I wanted to check if it's connected, the thing you're holding up, but it is.
Yeah, it is. Let's cool this a little bit until the fans are back off, and then we can maybe play some Counter-Strike with it.
My question, can you please show the memory junction temperatures? I'm not sure where they are located.
Let me see. Yeah, Hardware Info has a long
I can
list of
zoom. Woohoo. GPU, core, memory usage.
Here, GPU memory junction temperature.
Yeah.
And you can also see the minimum and the maximum while running. And the current, of course. So currently 46 degrees Celsius, minimum 32. And the maximum we had while running Furmark, of course, was 78 degrees Celsius.
Okay.
So the fans are back off, and the GPU is currently at 35 degrees Celsius. So let's boot up some Counter-Strike.
Am I going to play Counter-Strike? Always the fun part of the show.
Yeah.
Bots, right?
Yeah, I will play some
Maybe we
bots.
can invite Ja. He's probably playing at home.
Probably. So I will put the close-up cam on the radiator.
I can do this.
You can switch in between.
One moment. Let me copy this, and then we go to capture system. Paste this. Oh, that's not what I want.
Life hacks by Eric.
Detailed cam. Like, you want to show those, I don't know, Counter-Strike. So are we blocking anything here?
No, not really, I think. Nothing significant.
Should we include your mouse, like how you do with your mouse movement?
I barely have any space here, so I have to be very careful.
Some YouTubers are doing that.
Let me move this to the side a little bit.
I guess. Yeah, anyway, I will move it around if...
So right now, running Counter-Strike at approximately 350 frames per second.
Yeah.
Sometimes a little bit higher, sometimes a little bit lower.
Between 3 and 350.
Yeah. So as you can see, temperature still extremely low, 40 degrees Celsius right now.
That's not the question.
Passive.
The question is how many kills will you have at the end of this round?
They're bots, so that shouldn't be too hard.
Sneaky.
Just always get them in the back.
And like
I need more mouse
like
space, by the way.
7 bullets, or what was that?
Yeah, do you know how my sensitivity is right now?
No.
Look how fast this is, compared to what I usually play with.
Does it influence your trigger?
Burst fire. Still passive.
Do you have other games? People are saying CSGO is DirectX 11 and not 12.
No, I barely have any games on this. There's a very small, I think it has Valheim maybe?
That should be DirectX 12.
Yeah, but
So,
I think, I haven't tested with any other games.
So you killed the one bot in the game?
But of course, if you play a heavier game, they will start spinning faster.
Still not spinning.
No. So Counter-Strike you can still play passively, basically. Oh, apparently I set it to automatic. I don't know. Oh. Okay, it works.
DirectX 11 is CPU, DirectX 12 is GPU. Don't know about that. Could be. We don't have Valorant, do we?
I'm not sure what's on here. I can see what I can fire up. I see Valheim. I don't see Valorant.
I hope we log in on Peter's account so we can burn some houses.
I will try to boot up Valheim. I've never played this before, by the way.
It's going to be fun. Looks nice, but I don't want to start. Will cost me too much time.
At least in CSGO we didn't manage to get the fence spinning.
No.
So let's try Valheim. Let me crank up the settings a little bit. Yes, 1080p screen. But it can go a lot higher than 60 Hertz. Let's just put this all on.
Is the cooler out yet, Mike?
I'm not going to do motion blur. The cooler will be, well,
it's about shipping about right now.
Yeah, like half March, it will be out officially.
We are a bit early.
Yeah, but it depends per region when it will be in the store. But expect in most regions, I would say end of March approximately. Start game. I think the fan should almost spin. 51 degrees on the GPU. How do I, okay, start. How does this work? Do you know what I should do, Eric?
No. It's like Minecraft with Vikings. I mean, you need to survive, build, gather resources.
Okay, let's see.
But I'm sure our chat will know. How old is Michiel or Mike? Yeah, we all wonder that.
18 years and a couple of months. That's always the answer I give.
Yeah.
And I've been saying that since more
32.
than 11 years, so you can do the math. Look, now the fan starts spinning.
Yeah. Oh, that's...
What's that? Leave me alone.
Oh, you kill...
And you see as soon as the fan starts spinning, the temperature drops again. So we're going back to a little over 50 degrees. Shenanigans asking, can you tell the price of the cooler, or is it still a secret? No, it's not a secret. We have been talking about this before in the live stream. I believe from the top of my head it's 209 US dollars excluding VAT, or 209 euros including VAT for the 240 millimeter model, or 269 US dollar excluding VAT, or 269 euros including VAT. For the 360 millimeter model.
Mike, a good remark in the chat. Where was it? Is it good that the fan is lying flat on the table?
Right now, it's not flat on the table. It looks like, but look.
Oh, okay.
There's a game controller underneath. So I give it a little bit of space so that it can lose the hot air. But the camera is at a slight angle, so it looks like it's flat on there.
Maybe
but it's not.
we can capture it here. Yeah.
As you can see on the MPG CORELIQUID K360 right now, we're currently gaming, so you see a second fan started spinning compared to being completely idle, where two fans were not spinning. But the third fan is still not required for CPU cooling at this point. I see some questions if I can do certain things with the game. If you want to have it more demanding.
He barely knows how this game works.
Yeah, if you want to have it more demanding, we just switch on firmware. It doesn't get more demanding than that.
So now we're going to do first a giveaway.
Yep.
Hey, I'm on time for this. Not one question, like who won, like some sneaky questions, like who won. Oh yeah, giveaway time.
So if you haven't participated yet, this is your last chance. Go to msi.com/2/insider or follow the link that you can find in chat in Twitch and YouTube.
So next winner, Max, congratulations. And Max, don't jump for joy. Maybe it's another Max. We had it one time.
Yeah.
It's like a common, I don't want to say common name, but more people can have the name Max. Anyway.
If you are this Max, then you will get an email in the coming days. Yeah. And then you won a game code for Watch Dogs Legion.
And your name is Maximo, so.
Yeah. If you still want to participate, quickly do so, because we're about to end the stream for today.
No, you're still going to tear something apart.
Oh, that's a good point. I promised that, right?
Yeah.
Okay, then I should do that.
I
thought everyone forgot about it.
Yeah, I know, because you're trying to avoid that you have to put it back together.
No, I'm not putting it back together. I'm just taking it apart, and then I just bring it to Ruud or Peter from our FAE department.
Easy.
And they can put it back together.
Okay, I'll go back to
I
the chat.
almost forgot about it. About the tear.
Yeah, I remember, because before the live stream we were like, Erik, do you have a hammer?
Yeah, so this is something we haven't tested before, so I'm curious how difficult it is. But we will find out. I've got some tools, so it should be okay. And I might burn my hands because I just had Furmark running on this.
It was like barely 50 degrees.
Yeah, it should be okay. There we go.
Any ideas when the new Z590 boards are going to be released? Like the first... Mike, do you know the models? Which were MP'd like around Chinese New Year?
Yeah, most of them actually already are. But for example, the Unify boards are not yet.
Yeah.
But most of them you will already find in the first wave. And they should already be available in most regions. If it's not in your region yet, best to check with your local retailer to see when they are expected to arrive.
Yeah, it should not take long.
No, it shouldn't take long.
But like what Mike said, some selected boards, like the ITX model, like the Unify.
Also the other Unify models, both the
Unify
regular
X,
and Unify X indeed.
Some other models, they are like MP in a couple of weeks, so that will still probably take 2 months, I would say, before they arrive in your store.
So
I thought that was from burning your fingers. I was like looking up.
No. That's okay.
Disappointed.
I'm creating a little bit of space. So let's first take a closer look at the card. And let me reposition the camera a little bit.
This one.
There we go. So here you can, there's a small window and you see the Asetek logo because the water block for the GPU is located underneath this. Here you got an additional fan, for example, for the VRM on the card. Later on you will see that when we take it apart. And of course on top this is attached to the 240mm radiator with the TORX 4.0 fan. You can, for example, see that by the blades that are attached, as you can see right here. So that's how you can, for example, recognize a TORX 4.0 fan compared to, for example, the older generation TORX fans. So let's see how we can take this apart. I see a lot of screws on the back. So let's first unscrew those.
Oh, people are afraid you will destroy a brand new, good working GPU.
It was properly working, but let's see about what it will be like in an hour.
We should maybe have a scoreboard, like who destroys most hardware.
I know who's on top.
No, we will do a reset. We will start from scratch.
Okay. I still know who will be on top in a week.
I'm going to...
Merrick says, if I remember correctly, you guys mentioned you are not planning to take it apart last week. You mean this card? Well, maybe Peter promised that, but Peter is not here today.
No.
I didn't hear it, so it's going to be taken apart.
I changed the autofocus. Yeah, originally Peter was going to the stream, but he had like some excuse, so I'm happy to take over.
But then we tear apart his samples.
Yeah, he's not here, cannot complain.
Indeed.
You know what I found on his desk? 6700 GPU.
So here is the back plate. And as you can see, it has the thermal pads right here. And they hit the backside of the memory chips on the card. So they will help to cool the memory chips from both sides. Yeah,
so some backplates are just for looks. And with these thermal pads, it can also help with cooling.
Mm-hmm. So let's continue.
So you talked with like Peter or Ruud how to take this apart?
No.
Or this is like...
I'm just going to unscrew everything that
That's
I will
also
find
how I
here.
do it.
Let me see. I might already be able to...
No. No.
I shouldn't be too far off. I have to take this off. Just unscrew everything and it should come loose, right?
In the I/O shield there are more screws on the back too.
Ah.
It's like your first GPU you unscrew?
No, but usually I just use a hammer.
Yeah. Do you have a plan like these two screws belong here and these two here, or is it just like one big pile and
one big pile
somebody else's problem?
And Peter can try later on. So here you can already look into the shroud, and you can already see maybe it's a little bit hard to see with the light, but you can already see the water block there. I have some screws on this side as well.
So you expect the screw to come off without, and the cooler, the pump still stays on the GPU?
Yep. That's the plan at least. But I'm going to take the cooler off as well, eventually.
I always hate taking the fans out of the shroud.
Like completely removing the fan, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, we can just take it off with the fan.
What is the price of this card? Good question. Do you have any?
Oh, I don't know. And
No.
especially in these times, that's
Yeah,
super hard
we
to
better
say.
don't talk about GPUs and pricing.
Yeah.
It's a difficult topic.
It's a very difficult topic.
Yeah.
Okay, so
And yeah, this will still take like for at least half a year,
one
maybe
more
longer.
screw.
Really sad situation. Traumatic.
Traumatic, yeah. There we go. I think I should be able to take the top off right now. Yeah.
Oh, cool. So that's
So here you see the shroud with the fan.
Yeah, cable for the fan.
Let me quickly unplug this from the PCB.
That's how I always make destroy things. That's quickly.
Yeah, okay, but you don't pull it carefully. You do it really quickly.
Screwdriver on the PCB.
So let's move this aside. This is what the card looks like. So here you see the water block with the pump integrated in there. And as you can see, there is a big copper plate all around it. And the all-in-one liquid cooler will help to cool that complete plate, so that it will also help to cool the memory chips on there. So let's dismantle this a little bit further. Because I still see a warranty sticker that I can break. There we go.
We should have some background music for this.
Some very relaxing music.
Yeah, like an elevator from a restaurant.
There
Okay.
we go. As you can see, this is not a straight plate, and that's because it will be flat when it's attached, and this gives the extra pressure from the block on the GPU to make sure it has full contact. And let me see if I can take this part off.
I'm smiling, hoping it goes wrong.
Yeah. There we go. And here you see the copper plate.
Is that a corner of a GPU?
And here you see all the thermal pads for the memory chips. And this is where the GPU touches the water block. I have a little bit of tape right here that I'm going to
You
remove.
need a hammer
so
for
I can-
that?
No, I
Oh.
don't need anything. Need to see how I can put this to the side without having thermal paste everywhere. This is hard with one hand. There we go. So this is the copper plate. And that one is attached to the pump. And now we have, maybe we can show it in the main cam.
Yeah.
This is basically the all-in-one liquid cooling solution that cools the GPU. And now separately, you can see the graphics card. So let me show it right here.
A lot of extra cooling plates.
Yeah, indeed, extra plates. This is where the fan is usually positioned on the shroud, like this. And this is also where you will, for example, find the power delivery circuit. So basically the VRM of the graphics card. So underneath here you have the power stages, then you have the chokes, the capacitors. That's also why you have the additional fan here. You have a lot more cooling ribs, so that will also help to provide even more cooling.
Yeah, that strip is also anti-bending.
Also anti-bending, so it's very, very sturdy, so you don't get GPU sag in your case. Let me see if can we take this off. Yeah, there we go. And if we look on the other side of this, you can see that it also has thermal pads on here. So for example, if we take a look at the power delivery circuit here, here you see, for example, the power stages. And let me see how this was positioned. So that is this thermal pad right here will drop over all those power stages. So also this is made from metal, and it will help to cool the power stages as well.
Can you like metal with a screwdriver that it sounds like metal?
I can.
Or scratch it? Yeah.
So yeah, that's metal. And this is basically the card itself with all cooling and the backplate taken off.
It wasn't that hard.
No, it was quite okay.
Nothing damaged.
Not yet. Which architecture? This is the Ampere architecture from NVIDIA.
Yeah, so this is RTX 3090, 3080 SKUs. This is the 3080.
This is the 3080, but
yeah.
Seahawk comes in 3080 and 3090.
Indeed.
Don't these VRMs also require a heatsink? Well, they actually have one right here, and they also have, in case they need additional cooling, there is a semi-passive fan that will also help to cool the VRM. And also the complete cooling solution with the backplate, it will all help. And this is a 2-ounce copper PCB, and that will also help to cool, for example, the VRM components, but also the memory chips, etc. So even the PCB helps to dissipate heat.
I'm actually surprised how simple the cooler is. I mean, like only 3 pieces.
It looks very simple, but a lot of the cooling technology is hidden within this block.
Yeah. So we're going to take that apart?
No, because I don't have anything.
But Peter is not here.
Yeah, but it will be a huge mess with all the liquid. And then I really destroy his sample.
Okay, yeah,
I
forgot about the liquid.
Yeah. If I take this apart, then the liquid will come out. So this is where the teardown stops.
Oh, wrong one.
What backplate is that? Do you mean this one? This is metal backplate with thermal pads for the memory. But those big blocks are not touched with metal. Which? Oh, you mean the big blocks on the card? You mean the chokes?
The chokes.
Yeah. Well, the chokes don't heat up as much as the
MOSFETs.
The MOSFETs do. So here you have the power stages, and this row in between, this will generate the vast majority of the heat.
Yeah.
And that's why you have the thermal pads on the power stages. That's also why, for example, often on motherboards you see that the chokes are completely exposed, whereas especially on higher end boards you will always have a heat sink on top of the power stages or the MOSFETs.
A lot of questions about new products. I saw somebody ask a question about the case. Well, I think I answered already last week. At this moment, I didn't see a roadmap, so I don't know what's planned, but I know what we planned for live streams, and in the coming, let's say, 2 months, we don't have a case live stream planned, or nothing particular at this moment. Also, any new monitor announcements? Yes, and we will be doing. Is Ja doing next week already live stream about monitors?
No.
Next week we're going to talk about GPU. Yeah, probably then the week after. We're going to talk about some new monitors, and I think 2 more monitor live streams are planned, including the 360 Hz G-Sync monitor. And that we're going to also test with NVIDIA Reflex, with one of our mouses.
I see a question about the backplate. Is it plastic or aluminum? Well,
don't scratch it.
I don't scratch it, but I think you can hear it.
Yeah, but then do it on the inside.
No, because there is a protection layer in the inside.
That's okay.
So I just scratch it on the outside.
Peter normally I would say this sample is for you, but not in this case.
Okay, sure.
You scratched it. Now it's for you.
You break it, you buy it. Well, then at least I was able to buy one.
Yeah. The K Series is a all-in-one cooling.
Yeah,
if we talk about custom water cooling, custom water blocks, that basically means you take care of all the tubing yourself.
Yeah, that you can decide your own radiator, your own pump.
Yeah, it's complicated.
Yeah. So shall we do a last winner for today, Eric?
Oh yeah, sure. Draw winners. Yes.
So our last winner for today is...
Not so fast, the system.
Oh, that one's for you, because it's a difficult name. Good luck, Eric.
Well, he won with a loyalty bonus. And his name is Pictures.
P-I-C-I-U-S-Z. Congratulations. You also won a game code for Watch Dogs Legion.
Yes. In the coming days.
Yeah, in the coming days, we'll send an email to all winners with some instructions, as well as the code in order to claim the game. We hope you enjoyed playing the game. We hope you enjoyed this live stream today.
Yeah. Next week, we're going to talk about 6700 XT, and the 17th is the launch date. Not sure about what time, probably 1 hour before our live stream. It's going to be excited. We already have a sample. It's still on Peter's desk, so he didn't do any testing yet. Maybe he's waiting for drivers.
So let's hope it works.
Hey, no, it works. It's a retail packing. Don't worry about that.
Yeah, thank you so much for joining today. We hope to see you again next week. Same place, same time.
And thanks for the two smart guys who joined us.
Yeah, thanks to Asetek as well. If you want to learn more about these products, make sure to check out our website. For example, the CORELIQUID page is live, so you can find more details there about the new MPG CORELIQUID K Series. So yeah, thank you so much for today, and hope to see you again next week. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.